food industry is traumatized because of industrialization. Processing food to make that industrial system work is terrible for the planet, it's terrible for our bodies. All localized food systems are going to be a necessity.
Scary, isn't it? What we're doing to the planet and Mother Earth. Back when Winston Churchill was top of the charts, in the UK, you could only really eat what was grown here. Back then, if you wanted a banana, quite frankly, you were f***ed. Food scientists, and everyone else, use the term food miles when explaining how far your food had to travel from its place of birth to your plate. Food miles, of course, aren't an issue in Europe, as they use kilometres. Autumn? It's important to know your seasons, because then you can make the right seasonal choices when it comes to food. If you're after strawberries in winter, quite frankly, you're f***ed. The food industry's carbon footprint isn't as cut and dry as something that's cut and dry. For example, sometimes it's better if your tomatoes are grown in a warmer climate. I have no idea whose farm this is, but I know their food's going to be fresher and there's going to be less preservatives. I realised a long time ago that I needed help with this, and I wanted to meet an expert. So we met with Doug McMaster. He runs his own local, zero waste restaurant. 95% of his produce is from local sources. Let's see what Doug had to say.
The energy that goes into processing food, having all these middlemen tampering with food, packaging food and processing, bleaching it and doing all the things that take away the natural qualities of food, yes, creates choice and convenience. You know, your Tesco Express, the things on every corner, you know, it makes for convenience, especially in this modern world where no one has any time. Instead of storing it in a cupboard for 6 months, having it gone fresh, so people are eating fresh vegetables rather than vegetables that have been sat from a warehouse. And
so we've come up with an experiment to work out if people really do know where their food comes from. So place this carrot where you think it was born.
No, definitely not Asia. I don't know why, I'm not thinking, or Africa, maybe Europe. It's got to be somewhere in Europe. I'd say like Europe.
Apparently, every pound spent locally generates twice as much for the local economy. Let's check.
Thank you very much.
So if you wanted to shop locally, where would you go?
Probably either the open market or there's a place called Hisby.
Hisby.
there's another great business around the corner called Hisby. They've got a similar sort of ideals.
How do you feel?
To be honest, like obviously I think local produce is quite important. Obviously we have the market and everything like that. It's quite nice to see. I think it's quite important, to be honest, for like community and everything like that. Obviously you get better quality normally as well, and it's nice not to just line the pockets of big corporation, which I think is nice.
And make sure that we're not importing everything.
Of course, the real issue is, how do we get the whole of the country to give up those luxury items which tend to have the largest carbon footprint? I'm talking chocolate. I'm talking oranges. I'm talking in a field full of manure. Coffee comes all the way from the equator, and I have literally no idea where that is. But I know it must be pretty far, and a pretty big carbon footprint. Do I have to give it up?
In reality, there's no way the Western world's going to stop drinking coffee because it's from the equator. You know, it's just not going to happen. So should we ignore that and be holier than thou and pretend it's not an issue, or should we deal with the issue? So we're very proud, and it's something which even in recent months has become really established, is this idea of emission-free trading. So produce coming from the equator, from Venezuela, from Costa Rica, from Dominican Republic, coming all the way to the UK with little or no sort of carbon footprint or fossil fuels burned, emission-free basically. We joke that it's pirate ship trading because it's a vessel which looks like a pirate ship, and the guys that sail the ship look a bit like pirates, loose kind of cloth clothing and beards and tattoos and eye patches. I've not seen an eye patch yet, but maybe that will happen.
But sadly, over 73% of households no longer have access to pirate ships. So what do the rest of us do? Well, check your labels. You can get most of your vegetables, meat and dairy from local organic sources. When you can do right, do right. And when you can't do right, do wrong right.